The Libertarian Party should nominate Trump for President of the United States. Whoa. That's nice. Thank you. No, only do that if you want to win. If you want to lose, don't do that. Keep getting your 3% every 4 years.
Over the weekend, Donald Trump appeared at the Libertarian Party convention, which was kind of a bold choice. I mean, Donald Trump isn't really a libertarian, right? But he was invited to speak, and he, along with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and some other libertarians who you've never heard of course, one of them is the one who actually got the nomination. They showed up and they spoke, and this is really refreshing, actually, what you're about to see. This is Donald Trump speaking to the Libertarian Party convention, the Libertarians giving him a hard time, and Trump giving it right back. It's like how we always used to hear American politics was before, it became machine washed and blow dried and scripted and teleprompted. This is what American politics should look like.
The Libertarian Party should nominate Trump for President of the United States. Whoa. That's nice. That's nice. Only if you want to win. Only if you want to win. Maybe you don't want to win. Maybe you don't want to win. Thank you, D-Roy. Thank you. No, only do that if you want to win. If you want to lose, don't do that. Keep getting your 3% every 4 years. The reasons for doing so, policy and politics, are as solid as the Hope Diamond.
I do love the keep getting you 3%. This is why libertarians are often called losertarians. Listen, I don't think the libertarians should have nominated Trump because, well, he's not a libertarian. And I'm actually kind of glad they didn't, because I'm afraid that Donald Trump would have then felt sort of obligated to advance some of the Libertarian Party's interests and ideals. I like most conservatives, in my heart, want to think that I'm a libertarian because, generally speaking, it means getting the federal government out of our lives. But the fact of the matter is, libertarianism, moved to its extreme, as you see in this room, is actually completely unworkable and devoid of any moral compass. That's my biggest issue with it. And Donald Trump doesn't really fit in that equation. But I understand the intention of asking for the nomination. It would have kept a libertarian candidate from maybe drawing enough votes from a close state where Trump could be on the bubble. And also, it would sort of form a larger coalition. Don't get me wrong. Ronald Reagan sort of built that coalition back in the 80s, the libertarian leg of the stool, along with the robust foreign policy leg of the stool, and then the third leg of the stool, the Christian conservatives looking at moral issues. Ronald Reagan was the kind of figure that could keep all three of those factions functioning together. That kind of politician doesn't come around all the time. And the fact is, left to their own devices, the strong libertarians often are in conflict with the other two legs, the robust national security leg and the moral majority, as they were called back in the 80s. So it didn't go that well, but I did like the fact that Donald Trump was shouting back at them, and he was this close to calling them losers. Keep losing. Go ahead, keep losing if that's what you want. I'm here. I'm willing to take your nomination. I'll even give you a seat at the table. I mean, it would have been smart for the libertarians to do that if you think about it. Okay, Trump, we're going to go ahead and do this. This is how it happens in parliamentary countries, right? Where you have factions that get together and form a coalition government for the majority so they can get a prime minister on board. So then you've got someone who really only represents 3 or 4% of the voting public. But because that 3 or 4% helped build the coalition that made the guy prime minister, they now have a seat at the table. They actually have a voice in the new government, which would have been amazing for the libertarians. But as you saw, they do, in fact, like losing with their 3% because it's a pure 3%. God bless them. I love how pure those libertarians are. All right, listen, more on the libertarians in a minute because they're funny. But Donald Trump wasn't done. He actually sat down with Tim Pool, podcaster Tim Pool, where a long-ranging interview, and some news was made. Take a look at this.
here at the Libertarian Party National Convention, they had one of their, I believe this one of their presidential nominees said he wants to see Fauci, the heads of Moderna, Pfizer, Biden, and you locked up for what happened during COVID. I don't agree with them, but there is a big sentiment. Elon Musk tweeted, prosecute Fauci. Fauci lied to Congress about the gain of function research that was going on. And now we have testimony.
Well, I'm the one that stopped the funding, and this was funding from before me. I'm the one that stopped the funding. Fauci wasn't a big player in my administration like he was after I left. I mean, Biden made him the king of everything. And if you take a look at that, Fauci was not the big player with me that he was. And in fact, I did things that he didn't want to do. He wanted to keep it open to China. I said, you got to close it to China because it was all coming out of China. It was coming out of Wuhan, which I said right at the beginning. But the other thing is, and what people don't realize, I believe in federalism. I gave the power to governors. Some governors did a great job. In all cases, they were Republicans. And some, like in South Carolina, Henry McMaster, kept everything open. Others didn't. The Democrats did a bad job, very bad job. But basically, I gave that power over the states. I gave it to the governor. I gave it back to the states. And I think it's something which, when people realize that, it's something that they respect.
All right. He also said in this interview that he is open to a criminal investigation into Anthony Fauci's behavior, while saying he really didn't have much of a say in the government. Listen, I have been saying for a while now that Trump needs to make this part of his campaign. He needs to say, when I'm elected, we're going to do what Joe Biden should have done 4 years ago, and that is be fully transparent on every aspect of the pandemic, on the origins of it, on gain of function research, on what the federal government knew about it, when we knew about it, whether our money paid for gain of function research, when we knew the true origins of the virus, whether that was covered up by the NIH or Anthony Fauci or people associated with him. While we're at it, we're going to have full transparency on how decisions were made with regard to recommendations of lockdown, school shutdowns, who said what to whom, and who had a seat at the table to decide whether schools should get shut down. Then the vaccine and what was known and what was not known about the vaccine. He needs to be completely upfront with this and say, yes, if people broke the law, they will be prosecuted. This would be one of the most popular political positions anyone could take in 2024. Why he doesn't do it, I'll never know. But he seems like he's close to it with that interview with Tim Pool talking about Fauci. Reaction over on CNN with regard to the Libertarian Convention and the fact that Donald Trump did not get the nomination. Neither did Robert F. Kennedy Jr., by the way.
Trump going there this week, they are striking such a confident pose right now. He goes to the Libertarians and tells them, if you want to keep getting your 3%, go ahead. Otherwise, come with me. He goes to the Bronx and says, I'm better than Joe Biden. I'm trying to build a party that's inclusive of you. I think all the places he's going, they are striking this confident pose. And it's a campaign unlike we've seen from other Republican candidates. I think it's pretty confident, and they know they're winning, and they're trying to take advantage of that position.
Yeah, he's not wrong. Just going to the Libertarian Convention and weathering the potentially volatile response is something that Joe Biden would never dream of doing, or should we say the people pulling the strings and making decisions for Joe Biden would never dream of doing. And Scott Jennings, the only conservative Republican employed at CNN and allowed to speak on that entire network, he's not the only one saying that.
Look, I think going to the Libertarian Convention was smart. According to Gallup, they represent 20% of the American electorate. Maybe you shave off 8% of them. That can make a difference in a very, very tight presidential race. Regardless of the reasons, going to the Bronx, it's important. No one should be presumptive to assume that people of color are going to just vote one way purely because they're Black or because they're Hispanic. That seems to be the case for my Democratic friends. And I think it's why a lot of people of color are looking at Joe Biden and they're realizing that my life is not better. When I go to the grocery store, things are expensive. The infrastructure in my surrounding community has not improved. And when I think about the future for my children, they're still in dilapidated schools where the educational system is deplorable. That's the Democratic message in my perspective. And so to have a Republican show up, whether he's being booed, jeered, whatever the case may be, he's showing up to places where Joe Biden is not. And I think that's going to make a difference.
Do you think Shermichael is starting to hear something from his friends back in the community where they're actually starting to notice what's going on here. And again, I want to point out, no one is speaking on behalf of Joe Biden in terms of how great things are. The only thing you're hearing from that side of the equation is how scary Trump is. And the American people are like, yeah, no, it's not that scary. I know you're saying that, but that's not true. I know you keep saying it, but it's just not true. So let's quickly analyze whether it actually hurts Donald Trump that he didn't get the Libertarian nomination, right? Is this a bad thing? Why put yourself up there for something if you're going to lose? A lot of people were commenting politically that this is a bad look for Trump because he went in there thinking that he was going to get the Libertarian nomination and he didn't get it. Why set yourself up for failure? Now, I would take issue with that. I don't think they ever actually thought they were going to get the Libertarian nomination. I think they're trying to make the case and actually show, as you just saw from the CNN commentary, that they're willing to go anywhere for the votes. And all Americans, no matter what party political affiliation they belong to, unless they're pro-Hamas supporting terrorists, they deserve to be spoken to and they deserve to be asked formally for their support. That's actually a good thing, right? But ultimately, does it hurt him? Well, let's put this in perspective. Let's take a look at the Libertarian Party a little bit and remind you of a famous moment 8 years ago when Gary Johnson was running for the nomination. He eventually got it, by the way, Gary Johnson did. And they had a debate moderated by Larry Elder, radio talk show host. And well, here's a moment in that debate that sort of sums up the purity of the Libertarian Party. You know, the people who are willing to lose year after year after year and cling on to that very pure 3% that they always get.
Should someone have to have a government-issued license to drive a car?
Hell no.
What's next? Requiring a license to make toast in your own damn toaster?
The license to drive? You know, I'd like to see some competency exhibited by people before they drive.
That is the pure essence of the Libertarian Party. I like libertarianism. I like libertarian ideals. I like shooting our current federal government's behavior and role in our lives through the prism of libertarian ideals, but I am not a full-blown libertarian. And so Gary Johnson, who, by the way, is a Republican, he ran for the Libertarian nomination because he wanted to give people an alternative to Trump and Hillary. Didn't work out very well for him, or anyone for that matter. He made a lot of money doing it, by the way. The only libertarian principle that he really had was that weed should be decriminalized, and that's really all libertarians care about. There's Gary Johnson, that face, getting booed by the Libertarian Convention because he thinks maybe when people are operating a vehicle at 90 miles an hour hurtling down an expressway, they should show that they have some basic confidence to operate that vehicle. Boo. Cat Turd summed things up pretty well, actually, as he often does on X. Libertarians, here's how they tweet, and then here's how they vote. Because that gentleman to the left, not the gentleman on the right looking like a drag queen at Dollyland. No, the gentleman on the left with the gay rainbow flag, don't tread on me emblem. That gentleman is Chase Oliver. And that's who eventually won the nomination for president. Not RFK Jr., who isn't even close to being a libertarian. A libertarian? Did they really entertain RFK Jr.? The man who wants the government to control everything with regard to the environment and carbon emissions and outlaw your car? He's libertarian like I'm a drag queen. Don't. It's the first thing that popped into my mind. Yeah, it wasn't Donald Trump. It wasn't RFK Jr. It was that guy. That guy, Chase Oliver, is Mr. 3%. That's the guy who got the nomination for the Libertarian Party because they've stayed pure, I tell you. They've stayed absolutely pure. Libertarians, how they tweet, and then how they vote. Honestly, Trump kind of dodged a bullet with this one, I think. And so did we.